Alright, it is 9:24 a.m. April the 7th, 21, and there are three stocks on the main list: INVU, KYNC, LTNC. All of these are number 5 potentials. I'm just going to be watching them for now. INVU did a nice run yesterday. We'll see if it can continue or if it does at number 5. I'll be interested in it. KYNC as well, but it's just a bit risky. I remember it from that previous trade I had yesterday. It could be very liquid and jumpy, so it really depends. But if it drops a lot, I'm going to imagine there's going to be more volume. LTNC, of course, I'm going to watch. It reminds me a lot of AABV, which was starting to be all jumpy and strange when it started to do that move towards the downside. So I'll just be watching LTNC carefully. Not gonna try to get in a crappy trade. It looks like it might make a green candle so far, but it's pre-market, 5 minutes till the market open. We'll just see how it does. I will be looking at support and resistance levels more than I have previously. We'll just take a look, and there have been a lot of sellers on the ask with 1 million shares. But if there are just a lot of blocks of buying action and it's at a support level, I have to take that into consideration that it might just get taken out and there's going to be a huge spike. I do have other ones in the other screen like CELZ, but you know, it's the first green day yesterday. It's just going to be a watch. Wouldn't want to dip by this today. It would have to run a few more days for me to be interested in this. So that's the state that I'm in right now. I'm just going to be looking for number 5s, as well as any other stocks on the other watch list that happens to be down a lot, but it has to be down a lot because some of them are very late in their pattern. Alright, it's 9:36 a.m. INVU was really close to buying. I just quite frankly missed it. I was totally not phased at all to wanting to buy it right here. The only thing really going against this stock, and then it had this like very low volume or very volatile spike. Just kind of reminds me of KYNC yesterday. I would have sold into this spike because it was a bit excessive. In theory, yeah, I could have bought 67.5 and then could have sold into this crazy volatility spike or whatever you want to call it. It just, spiked very nicely on very low volume. I would already have sold into that spike again had I have bought. Again, I just, I know there's going to be a fake out, right? Would have liked it if there was maybe like a smaller green candle after this, but I just missed it really. I can't make much of an excuse. I just really missed this setup. It dropped at 65, which just is nothing more but a round number. Pretty impressive. Still down, almost 7% on the day. It didn't really drop that much too. The close yesterday was 73, so a drop from 73 to 65 is, it is nice, but concerning what we've seen recently, it's not that much. Another one that actually did a number 5, I was just more focused on INVU, was AITX. This one was better, I think, 81 to 70, much more range, I think, if you ask me. Kind of broke this range just the other day at 90. Just very late in the pump, very late. Already getting sold off, but it had that nice spike from 70 to 76, so I guess best case scenario 10%. And I guess this one at 65, although that would have been kind of hard. 65 to 72. I guess they're about the same, but I like the way AITX did its drop. It didn't have a fake out like we're seeing here with INVU. KYNC is up on the day, same with LTNC. I guess it had a baby dump. I didn't really notice this because it was green on the day, but that's the state right now. Now it's looking like a choppy mess, so no trades right now. I'll just be looking. Okay, just a quick update, 9:42. It looks like Tim actually bought this stock right here, so I guess we had the same trading idea, and his alert came out at 9:35, which explains why we had this crazy low volume, somewhat volatile spike that I would have been selling into had I been interested. I was interested, but had I been executed at 67.5 Again, I would have bought somewhere around here at 67. That was my limit, so maybe lower ideally, but that would have been my limit. So I might not even have been executed, who knows. But yeah, like I said, I would have sold into this crazy spike because it went from 67 to 72. Unfortunately, people just follow alerts. They're degenerates. So my worry now, okay, he just issued his sell alert, so I'm gonna guess that's gonna cause some kind of a panic, right? We're seeing a big drop so far. All the people who are selling immediately. I've learned my lesson previously. If I find out that Tim's in the same stock as me and it doesn't trade with much volume, I'm gonna be very cautious. I'm gonna probably want to get out of the trade before he issues his alert, because I don't want his followers to dump their shares on the bid and cause it to drop, and then I have to basically trade as if I was chasing late his alerts. So we have this drop here. Maybe if it breaks the low or something like that, that would be impressive, but right now it's just gonna be a watch. So yeah, there's meaning to this. There's meaning as to why it had this crazy spike right here. Pretty impressive. We'll see if this thing continues to drop. That would be nice. This is gonna continue to be a watch for now. At the moment, I'm not interested in buying, although it's pretty close to its lows. I just want to see what it does. Alright, it's 9:48. We did have this nice spike here after it dropped as low as 64, but there are just a lot of people on the ask, which kind of kept me out of it. Maybe I should be more hungry, sure, especially with that first move, but this one wasn't as nice, although I do kind of feel like I should have been in that trade. Even if it's not working now, it could have worked. If it starts to become a little too choppy, which is pretty close to looking like that, I won't be trading this. We do have more people on the bid now, but it's just going to be a continued watch. Okay, 9:54 a.m. INVU is just looking like a choppy mess, but what I am considering is, because a lot of these that just look like a choppy, disgusting looking thing, they just do a slow uptrend the rest of the day, or maybe like towards 12. It all depends, but I might be interested in just trading a tiny $250 position and just holding it, risking it off of 63, risking it off the day low, and just see how this thing can go. If it puts up a higher low from here, that would be just great. I'll be considering just a tiny position just to learn, really. Could even make a choppy looking inverse head and shoulders. It just has to put up a higher low from this level. It might already be doing it and I'll miss it, but if I do trade this, it'll just be a small position just to really learn. Yeah, so that's the state I'm at right now. I might buy it, just a small position. It all depends. It has to really hold the day low though. I'm not trying to buy something and it cracks the day low. Even if it's a small position, I'm going to trade it seriously, but I would like to be able to just hold one of these longer than the top 5 minutes that I've been holding these stocks. So I'll be considering this. 9:57, it broke the day low. Did not get in this trade because the price action was bad, but really I wanted it to put up a higher low, so it never did this. For that reason, I didn't buy the stock. This could be like a max panic drop, right, and then it continues an uptrend. I'll watch, but now I'd want to see it do a higher low off of this one before I consider buying it, really. And that would be just to get in a small position, just to see, because a lot of these do a nice uptrend at the end of the day. That's it. No, nothing else but that. But if it just keeps fading away, it's just going to be something I'm not going to trade. I'll just keep looking. But I don't see any other good setups that I really like. Again, we did have that number 5 with AITX. That was pretty impressive. That was something I could have bought. Didn't even do a stutter step. This was just a nice clean number 5. Very late into the pattern again, but this one did it. So I'll just keep looking at INVU. But right now it's not a buy. Okay, it's 10:08 a.m. I am in this stock a whopping 200 shares. I'm in a small position, kind of put up a higher low here based off of this level. I got in at 633, which is great. I'm just gonna watch this. I think this is a kind of stock. I could be totally wrong, and that's why I'm trading a tiny position, right? If this thing were to crack 62, I mean, that would be a penny loss on a $120 position. You know, it's just so that I can just get in the trade and just learn from it, really. I'm not trying to make $1,000,000 here. I'm just trying to learn the setup. Some of these do a nice number 5. Very choppy, crappy, but it just does a very slow number 5. And I could be wrong, but this is what it looks like it can do. We clearly have a wall at 64. So it needs to break 64 ideally at some point, or I'll just cut losses if it cracks today. Low at 62 and I'll lose a penny. I'll lose, I don't even know how much I'd lose. It'd be such a small amount. If I were to sell at, what's the low here, 62, let's say I sold here, right? I lose $4, okay? But I get to learn, and I'll gladly pay $4 to learn a great lesson. So that's my mindset. It's just going to be a watch, a slow watch. Risking it off of this level. Tim Grittani style, very small position, obvious wall at 64. It also shows on level 2, it shows on the chart. Potential inverse head and shoulders. Or it fails and cracks 62, I don't care. I'll lose $4, dude. If it gets halted, that's worst case. I lose $50, but it's still like $50, you know, or maybe more. But that's the only risk I have, really. The only risk I have is that this thing gets halted, and it could totally get halted. Holding a stock throughout the day, not too often a stock gets halted, you know, during the trading day, but it can happen. So I have a risk that it breaks 62. I lose like $4. I also have a risk that it gets halted. I'll lose more. I'll take that risk. It's $123. I'm gonna take it seriously though, but you know, it just helped me get in the trade, really, just to learn from it. A lot of the trades that I've taken, would only hold for max 5 minutes, right? I need to learn to hold all these setups better, especially when they're not doing it very nicely. It's just going to be a wash. I'm in at 63.3, I believe. 63.3. We'll see. It has to crack 64. Alright, we just cracked 64, but is it going to actually hold it? We'll see. It's just going to be a hold for now. Just a hold, risking it off of the 62. Tim Grittani style. Okay, it is 10:13. Because I'm trading this Tim Grittani style, we had a nice spike in the 65s. With my 200 shares, just wanted to play it safe and sell half of my position at 64.54. So that was my execution. Wait a minute, no, I thought I only sold 100 shares. Wow. I only meant to sell 100 shares so I can be like, okay, I just scaled half my position into this spike. In case it doesn't work out, I'll go ahead and, you know, I'll go ahead and sell just half. So if it drops and breaks the day low, then, you know, at least I sold half, right, while it was still up there. Gives me patience to hold. Trading tickers DVD, but I stupidly sold the entire position. I'm gonna pretend that I still have 100 shares, and I'm just gonna play like if I still have 100 shares, and I'm gonna make an update later whether I'm gonna sell eventually, but when, and you know, I'm just gonna pretend I still have 100 shares. I made $2, okay? It was a 1.96% trade. Sorry about that stuttering. I stretched it out to the other screen so I can see the realized profit loss is not here. I guess if I try, I can do this. I'll leave that here. I don't know what this one I never understand what that means. Let me adjust this thing so I can show. But hey, look, man, I'm still in 100 shares, right? And if it breaks the day low, great, I'll sell. I sold half into here. So, you know, it's not a complete loss. It'll be a break-even trade, but if it worked, it would have worked nicely. So I'm going to call it off right here. Just going to keep watching the stock, pretending that I'm in this still. But yeah, that's the situation at the moment. Okay, 10:23 a.m. Technically, I'm out, but in theory, I have 100 shares ready to sell if it cracks the day low. I remember watching the Trading Tickers webinar when it was live in 2015, and Tim Grittani had this stock. I forgot what stock it was, but the idea was that he was in the stock. I don't even remember if he was long or short. I think it was short, the stock, but yeah, it was short, I think. And the stock just wasn't doing what he wanted. It wasn't at his risk level. It wasn't where he would want to profit either and sell the position. But it was just chilling there in the middle of the trade, just doing nothing between these two levels, doing absolutely nothing. And sometimes I think he was short. If it's just not doing anything, if the volume has faded away and it's just doing absolutely nothing, well, what's the point of having a risk reward, you know, where you want to reward yourself or sell because it broke your risk, if it's just going to trade in the middle and do nothing because it lost all of its volume and volatility? That's the idea here with INVU at the moment, because it's not trying to trail back, or at least because it's not doing it, or I'm just being impatient. I would be considering selling in that theoretical 100 shares left just because of that. But what is in my favor is a lot of people on the bid, I think. A lot thinner on the ask. So that's the state that I'm in right now. I don't see any other stocks that I'd be really interested in. I haven't looked at these too much, but they haven't moved much in terms of percentage on the watch list. I guess LT&C broke this 77 level, which is pretty impressive. The day high, I mean, is far away from it at 80. What is that? 88? Yeah, 88. Maybe I would have considered a buy here. I doubt it. I would have maybe considered confirmed breakouts, but this thing is only up 9%. It's not moving much. KYNC looks worse. INVU, I guess after roasting it for not doing anything, is going to try this perk again. It could be a very choppy inverse head and shoulders. It might only get to the neckline at 64 and reject it again. Is this going to be a continued watch, even though I technically sold my complete position on accident? And that was a limit order, by the way. The limit order went pretty well. My limit order was on the ask, so it's not like it would have been executed immediately, so I can't say that execution was good or bad. I think it was pretty good. So yeah, that's the state right now. In theory, I'd still be in this stock just because I was roasting it, and then it started the uptrend here, and it looks like it's above that 64 level, at least for now. Just watching it, well, in theory, holding it for a very slow, gradual uptrend. Alright, it's 10:37 a.m. If I had the shares in theory, I'd be so happy right now, but I don't, because I sold them all at once. Well, now we're at 67. We're above the VWAP. I'd probably be selling them all right here. My last 100 shares in theory at 67, because, well, it's above VWAP. There's a lot of people on the ask. 67 is a nice price to sell, considering that I bought at 63, given the price range, the volatility, the volume, all these things. It can continue the uptrend, sure, but I would already be selling my last 100 shares into that 67 for a glorious profit. But that didn't happen, of course. That trade is over. KYNC. I need to do a screenshot for this too. Yeah, so I got a screenshot already. KYNC. Not doing anything. LTNC. Looks like it might put up a sketchy head and shoulders. It's just not a trade right now. The only stock that is really running, if you ask me, that I would be interested is, again, alright, mine. Sure, I did a VWAP hold here, but it's the first green day. Not gonna dip buy OTCs on this first green day. That's a lesson I learned. Until I get really good at it, it would just be like a confirmed breakout type of setup, and I haven't really seen that unless you were to have counted here, but that wasn't really perfect because it was below that breakout level. Even if you base it off of here, this wick is lower, so it's just no setups today. Very dry market. Maybe I'll wake up later in the afternoon, but right now it's just nothing. I'm gonna start studying, watching video lessons. INVU would have sold the rest of my shares at 67. I'm gonna go ahead and post this trade on Profitly, and I'm going to call it off right here unless there is just some kind of setup, some kind of volatility, volume increase, just more activity in the OTCs market. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call it off here, and just to go over the stock again. Number 5 setup, nice run up, right from 11 to 70 something. I had this drop here, did not want to buy here, was completely phased out, so just numb to wanting to buy this first green candle because of the stutter steps these stocks have been doing consistently. Had this nice drop, would have bought in theory here at, I think my limit was 67.5, I forgot, but it did have this nice spike. I wanted like another follow-up green candle, so if there's 2 green candles like here, 2 green candles, then I'll be like, alright, I'll be interested. It could do at least a second green candle, maybe it's gonna do an uptrend, right? Instead, we had this crazy green volatility candle, just a lot of buying action, very jumpy, very wild, and I was just like, oh, well, actually, if I would have bought here, I would have been selling into here just because it's so excessive. Reminds me of KYNC yesterday. It turns out that's because that was the same minute that Tim issued a buy alert, so people just bought up the stock who were chasing, being complete idiots. And then I was too cautious on wanting to buy the stock later, because if Tim issues a sell alert and the stock isn't trading with much volume, which is it kind of is the case here, it could cause a big drop, and it did. Now, I'm not going to say all of this was Tim's sellers. It probably wasn't, because if you look here at 635, the volume here was about 300k, so for it to have been, I guess maybe all of Tim's sellers and then people who were already in the stock caused this big volume spike, but probably not. It probably affected it, but just not that much that it broke the day low. It had to have been people who were chasing Tim's alert and were selling, as well as people who were already in the stock and now had another reason to sell because it started to head down again. Never bought it here. It was just too choppy. In theory, I could have maybe bought this one or maybe this one. I forgot which one it was. It didn't work out then. Would have had to have cut losses quickly for a small loss. Had this drop here. Did not like the price action here because it just looked like it kept dropping. Like, is it going to hold? And eventually, yes. The answer is yes. I held at roughly 10 o'clock. And at 10:08, I bought right here because it was showing a nice uptrend. I bought it at 63.3, so at the bottom of this candle actually, right here, so it's not like I was chasing it or something. Went ahead and sold my entire position on accident at 10:13, so right here, where is it? Right here, this candle right here, sold my entire position. In theory, I just wanted to sell 100 shares. It dropped here, was not looking nice until I started roasting it. It did hold above this day low, my risk level. Continued an uptrend here, downtrend, put up a higher low from this level. Here's a higher low, nice spike to 67. Would have sold that because it broke VWAP, and there's just a lot of people at the time on the ask. It can continue running, sure, but I would have been in and out. I wouldn't have held this stock the entire day. and you know, just made myself tired, I guess. It just would have been a nice sell into here, the other 100 shares at 67, which would have been almost, no, not really almost, but it would have been like a 5% move. Would have been like a small 4% trade. Just didn't go that nicely. Didn't wake up later in the day, and that would have been it. KYNC, nothing I want to trade. LTNC, nothing I want to trade. Again, if I see something nice, I'll probably make an update if I trade it. Maybe there will be something nice and I won't trade it and I won't make an update, but consider it done here. Overall, a good trading day. Today just clearly wasn't a good day for OTCs, at least the setup I'm interested in. However, AITX was a nice number 5. Although it was very late in the pattern, it was kind of significant again because it broke that 9 level. This was a nice one from 70 to 76, or if you missed that, 74. So yeah, just gonna call it off right here. Overall, a pretty good trading day. I'm gonna just continue studying now. Okay, it's 12:15 a.m. Just want 12:15 p.m. Just want to make a quick update. Look, INVU now at 71. Originally was interested, well, not originally interested, I bought at 63, sold some into here, all of it actually, not some, then I would have sold the rest here in the 67s. Now it's at 71, so you're like, oh, well, if you held longer you would have made more money. Sure, but it worked out in this case. It didn't have to have worked out, could have not have worked out at all. If I get the opportunity to sell into a spike, either here half my position in case it drops and breaks the level here and I have to cut losses quickly, or I sell into this spike right here, and sure I miss out of this, but I don't have to hold this stock. I'm not constantly watching it, you know, excuse me, for all this time. It's just a much better for me, I guess, to just sell it here. Sure, you could also just try to go for a home run, and then maybe if I had 300 shares, I would have sold 100, 100, and then 100 here. Something like that. But I'm going to definitely be considering this pattern a lot more. I'm not sure what to call it, but I guess it's just a slow number 5. I've seen this with AABB, LTNC. I've seen this with a lot of stocks, OPTI, CCTL. This is just what I'm going to consider from now on, as well as a regular number 5. If it's just not working, if it's too choppy or something like that, as long as it puts up a higher low like it did here, I'll be considering this setup.